normative claim, can you agree with me that it's a stance-dependent claim? Rights are just stance-dependent.
I certainly agree they're stance-dependent, yeah.
Yeah, so you just believe in them because you just think they're good, right?
What? That doesn't follow.
Yes, it does follow.
That follows?
He said that he believes that there is good and that rights correspond with what that good is. So it does follow.
That doesn't explain how it follows. Like if he says that rights are stance dependent,
because he's basing rights on the good. That's how it follows.
No, that doesn't follow either. Because even if he says that the good, okay, I don't want to press you on the inference that makes it follow. But when you say it's based on the good, like his conception of the good is not like arbitrary whim. So it's not as if it's just like made up.
It by his own admission, it's arbitrary. What's the system?
I never said that.
He doesn't. I didn't say that.
What's the system for what the good is?
It's based on the facts of human nature and the requirement to flourish.
Is that something that is stance dependent?
No.
Okay. How would you demonstrate this with something which is stance independent?
Yeah, the same way we demonstrate the principles proper to the life of a flower by scientifically investigating the nature of flowers and what their processes that sustain their life are.
But using science is, again, the reason for using it is stance dependent.
The reason for using it is stance dependent?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Does that change the fact that the subject matter is in fact stance independent?
It's not independent. It requires minds to interpret.
You say the subject matter.
A stance is built via the subject. Science requires a mind. Does science even exist without mind?
Yeah, but do you understand how what you just said is profoundly unimportant given that it's non-unique to every single discipline you could study?
Well, wait a second. You saying that what you say is meaningless has no meaning for an anti-realist.
I didn't say that. Doesn't follow either. It's not as if anti-realists are anti-meaning.
What's the meaning?
I just told you facts. I just told you that the moral facts that are taken up in this worldview are the facts about the requirements to flourish as a human being. But the reason the view is stance dependent is in fact because as an agent, right, you are the thing that's being studied. And in fact, the motivation to adopt a given view turns on you and the fact that you stand in relation to the facts as a human being. So
I see. So then it is the case that anything that we would be arguing about is going to be dependent upon our stance.
In the sense that the propositions are made true by your stance?
Well, that any normative claim that we make are going to require our stance.
It's gonna relate back to your nature, but that's not as if it's like an arbitrary thing. Like
that's ontological. You can't. How would it relate back to our nature?
Because
what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Because if you're making a moral judgment about something being good or bad, on Eduardo's view as an anti-realist, it's about good and bad are relationships that things have to you and your life and the requirements to live. So, like, of course, it references back to you.
So it's dependent upon his stance.
And his nature, which is not up to his stance. It's conditioned by both.
Can you demonstrate Eduardo's nature?
Yeah, he's a human being.
What is his nature?
He's a human being.
Oh, okay. That doesn't tell me anything. I'm a human being as well.
Yeah, exactly. You have this. Yeah, you have a similarity of the moral requirements to live your life.
You have. That's the part you haven't demonstrated. What's the similarity of this? Hang on. Okay, how is this a requirement?
How is it a requirement? Wait, how is what a requirement?
How is it a requirement that we need more normative claims to live our life at all?
Because what it consists of being a human being, the method in which human beings survive is by adopting systems of ideas and then implementing them into their action. That's how human beings survive. And the ideas that you implement are, in fact, those normative beliefs. That is why morality is a practical.
Well, you're granting yourself an awful lot here. First, you need to demonstrate that we need any of these systems to survive. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty obviously inductive, because if you take all of human history as the data sample and then you say, how is it that human beings were able to survive? Each and every single time they did something that sustained their life, they applied their mind to reality utilizing a system of ideas.
Wait, hang on. I just want to make sure I got this right. So you're now making a claim that because humans do that, they should do that?
I'm not simply saying that. You asked me what's the argument that the method of human survival.
I'm asking you right now. Are you saying that because
do you want to move
do that? Are you saying humans should do that?
I could say that. That's not the claim I just made. I do think that, but
I'm asking you. I'm asking. Do you know?
Okay,
I'm asking you a question.
This is a new point. Yeah, this is a new point. I do think it is the case.
Asking you.
Yeah, I do think it is the case that human beings.
I'm asking you.
Yeah,
don't ask me a question before you answer my question.
It's just tangential. I do think it is the case that human beings, and Eduardo thinks this too, that human beings should live in a productive, rational manner. We both think that. Yes.
No. Well, okay. So they ought do that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a moral fact?
It is a moral fact, but it's not a stance-independent moral fact.
Well, how would it not be a stance-dependent moral fact?
It is a stance-dependent moral fact. It stands.
Then how? So what makes it? So then it's not a fact at all.
What are you talking about?
It's just a stance.
For example,
what makes it a fact?
For example, is it a fact that you like? Is it a fact that you married to your wife?
Well, it's a fact from the stances of our society.
But it's a fact. Well, I don't know if you're married to your wife or not, but the fact is, like, if the subject matter of the proposition is a relationship you have to something, the fact is both stance dependent and is a fact.
Well, this makes no sense. Could you, if it was your stance that you were married to my wife and not me, right? Would that also be a fact?
No, because the relevant stance isn't present there.
What would make, so what's the, wait, I'm sorry, the relevant what isn't present?
The relevant stance isn't present? Like, you have the relevant stance.
If it was the case that you thought you were married to my wife, that is the relevant stance.
No,
because it's yours.
The stance of my belief of the matter is not the relevant stance that would make the proposition I am married to your wife true. The relevant stance that would make that true is the position of me being married to your wife.
What would make that true, though, other than it was your stance, it was true?
The fact of the matter would make it true. What do you mean?
The fact of the matter is just your stance that it's a fact.
Yeah, stances are, relationships exist in the world. That's why they can make propositions true, and it's why they're facts.
Yeah, but it's all based on your stances.
Oh, yeah, for example, I'm taller than you. That's a relationship I have to you. So it's in fact a stance-dependent proposition. It depends. Okay, agent relative, right?
But
that doesn't make it less of a fact. That doesn't make it less of a fact because it's a relationship.
You say you're taller than me. What is tall?
It's a comparison in terms of extension.
Yeah. Is there an exact inch ratio for what makes a person tall or short?
No, it's ordinal.
So it's based on stance?
Tallness is a comparison based on size. It's an ordinal measurement. You're asking what's the particular quantification?
Yeah, but if you say a person over there is tall, you're not making a comparison necessarily.
You in fact are comparing them to the average person. Yeah, that's probably what you're doing.
Maybe, but maybe not.
That is in fact what the meaning of the term tall is. It's a comparison.
Could be, but maybe not.
What can you give me a use of the term tall that's not a comparison?
Yeah, you're saying that you think I think that that this is tall. That's it. That what are you don't.
What are you expressing when you say
it does not necessitate? It does not necessitate comparison.
What would you be expressing if you said it was tall if it wasn't a comparison?
Whatever it is that your stance is trying to express.
Okay, I think you've successfully derailed the conversation into you saying that you think that sometimes people use the term tall in a non-comparative way. But like with respect to the point about ethics and stance dependence and stance independence, Eduardo's point is that there are facts of the matter about your life and the requirements to live as a human being that
what makes something a fact?
What makes something a fact?
Mm-hmm.
Facts aren't made facts; they just are facts.
Well, that doesn't answer the question.
Well, yeah, because the question presupposes a category.
They are because they are as a tautology. Can you tell me what makes a fact?
You're presupposing that it's an explainable phenomena. Like the fact that facts are facts is not in fact.
Then why are you telling me? So what you're telling me right now is that there are facts, but you can't tell me what they are or what that is.
I just told you what the facts are. No. Your question was specifically.
I asked what is a fact. What is a fact?
Oh no, that's not what you asked. A fact is an aspect of reality.
Okay, and what makes that a fact?
What makes aspects of reality?
No, what makes a fact requires an interpreter, right?
No, why would that be required?
Okay, well then what makes it a fact?
What makes aspects of reality?
Well, wait a second. Are you saying that all facts are aspects of reality?
What makes chairs, Andrew?
Hang on. I just want to make sure I got this right. Rights are a fact of reality then?
Rights are facts, yep.
Okay, can you show me how they're factual?
Yeah, rights are factual because they identify the conditions required to live as a human being in a societal context. They identify aspects of reality.
And what would make that a fact?
What would make the fact a fact?
Mm-hmm.
In meeting
no,
the necessary.
What would make that a fact? What would make that a fact? Not
what would make what I just said a fact?
Yeah, no. What would make a right a fact?
So what would make the fact identified a fact?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what would make
what would make it a fact? This presupposes that facts are made facts.
So they just exist.
Yeah, facts just are facts. Facts are a brute,
so,
right? Facts are hold on one second, Andrew. Facts are ground zero, right? Like facts do not have to be made facts.
I see. So if it's the case that facts don't need to be made facts, then these are things which exist absent any minds to interpret them. Is that right?
Yeah, facts are the way they are, independent of you grasping that they're facts. Yep.
I see. So then if I had a right to a slave, what would make that not factual?
Well, if you assumed it was the case that you had a right to a slave, then it would have always been the case. But we can debate whether or not the proposition is true, albeit whether it corresponds to the facts. Because the assertion that you have a right to a slave, the debate is over whether or not you are identifying a fact or you're not. Like that's what the conversation's over. So just the assertion that you have a right to own a slave does not make it a fact.
So then asserting that you have a right to healthcare, housing, and food does not make that a fact either.
Yeah, I agree. We're not liberals.
Great. So then can you tell me real quick where this right comes from for housing and food?
We don't believe in a right for housing and food.
Okay, I've clarified that's what the entirety of the conversation was.
No, I've clarified that for you.
Rights. Yeah, the idea was about rights themselves.
Yeah, rights themselves are social, they're moral principles which sanction and define your freedom of action in a social context. That's what a right is. So then tell me something. Why don't we collectively have a right to take shit from other people? If we wanted? Because it violates the requirements of living your life in a society with other people.
Oh, no. We as a society have decided to take shit from another society.
Society deciding something doesn't change the fact that it's incompatible with the requirements of a flourishing society of cooperation.
How would it be? How were Vikings not a flourishing society?
Because they pillaged and disrespected the rights of individuals.
That didn't seem to stop their society from flourishing.
No, they in fact limited themselves as flourishing because they could have expanded their society and been more productive and achieved more.
They did expand their society. They expanded their society into other continents.
They could have expanded. But they could have expanded the people in their society, the amount of producers in their society, the amount of people that are cooperating. It's the same reason why increasing the supply of the supply of people.
They did that through slavery. They did that through slavery.
Yeah, but in fact, slaves are more productive when they're able to think and apply their ideas in the same way Vikings are.
They were allowed to do that in Viking society.
Which is why exactly if Vikings were slaves, they would not have been as good as they were. They were in fact only as successful as they were insofar as they were free, which is the exact same reason why societies are better when people are free, because slavery limits the potential of individuals, which limits the potential.
But they were free to go raid other societies.
Right, but you said that still has the same problem I just identified.
No, it doesn't. They seem like they're flourishing fine.
It seems to you that if you enslave somebody, they're just as productive and just as capable of promoting the society they're a part of?
Well, it's the case that if you enslave somebody, they're going to be more capable. Hang on. It's the case that if you enslave somebody, isn't it the case that they're going to be more productive towards whatever your aim is than if they're not going to work for your society and not be a slave for your society?
It's the case that the best possible scenario is only
I'm asking.
Do you see how I asked you a question prior?
I want to make sure that you steel man what I just said.
I want you to make sure that you steel man my question that I asked you.
Hang on. Me first. I asked.
I actually asked you a question first, Andrew.
What was the question?
Okay, my question was, do you understand that people are their most productive and most valuable when they are free to use their mind?
No.
You don't think that? Okay, cool. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
It would have to be demonstrated to me that that's the case.
Okay, so every single country and every single individual, the degree of their success is attributable to the fact that they utilized their mind, came up with an idea, and solved a problem by applying their mind to the problem they were trying to solve.
That doesn't necessitate freedom, though.
It does. Matter of fact, if you were not able to utilize your mind and then apply it to the world, if you were physically restricted, if you were under the ownership of people and they arbitrarily dictated what you could and could not use your mind and apply to, right? All those different things that in fact undercuts the conditions required for you to be the most productive you can be.
So then kids shouldn't have parents guide their mind?
No, that doesn't work either, because children in fact don't have the mature developmental faculty we're talking about. And to the degree that children develop their autonomy in thought is to the degree that they develop their autonomy in rights, which is exactly why the rights that are afforded to children is proportionate to the gradual development and maturation of their rational faculty. So
should we restrain any thoughts?
With the use of force?
Yeah.
The only thing that should be restrained utilizing the use of force is the initiation of physical force.
So you should only use force to stop force.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't we use force for other things as a deterrent?
Because it violates.
I don't know, like tax violations.
Sure, yeah, because it violates the preconditions of a compatible society where everybody cooperates and flourishes. That's why.
Well, I mean, every single society creates these restraints specifically.
Yeah, and they're limiting themselves.
The most flourishing ones seem to have the most amount of these restraints, in fact.
Okay, but that doesn't contradict what I just said. They're limiting themselves.
Well, you would have to make a demonstration then that that's the case.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you want more nuanced conversation analysis of the successful countries, the countries that are ultra successful, in fact, in highly key important ways, despite the fact they have kind of contradictory elements in their system, have this kind of freedom, this intellectual and economic freedom awarded to the people and producers in their society. In fact, they're just as productive as they are because the producers have the freedom to be productive. Like all of the wealth acquisition.
Well, wait a second. I'm super confused here. You just got done telling me that force should be used to stop force. Right? That is the case.
Yeah, it should not be utilized in other ways. Yep.
Yeah. What if a person's ideas, though, are that you should use force to collectively take things from other people who cannot defend themselves?
If that person makes manifest their ideas into actions, i.e. if they are to initiate force on other people, then of course the principle would sanction using force against them.
Okay, but this principle is grounded in what?
Grounded in the requirements of human nature and the requirements of an individual to live in society.
There doesn't seem to be any such requirement in the use of collective force on environment or on people groups in order to take what you want.
Yeah, of course there is. Because if I decide, of course there is. What do you mean? Of course, if I decide right now, right, that me and everybody else in the TikTok panel are going to go and plunder and pillage your house, you in fact no longer can live a moral, successful, productive life.
Yeah, but why should you care about that?
Why should I care about your ability to live a moral, productive life?
Yeah.
Because me and you have a mutual harmony of interest and we can achieve more together than we could apart.
Can you do that if you have massive ideological gaps?
The ideological gaps are things that you can evaluate and change. So, I mean,
can we change them with force?
No, of course not. That's why the CRA
you definitely can. You can eliminate an ideology with force, right?
Right, and that's why when we made racism illegal in 1963, it became illegal.
So you removed an ideology.
Like when we made racism illegal,
to remove ideologies with force.
Because look, if I point a gun to your head right now and I say you must believe that 2 + 2 = 5, right? No matter how much willing you're going to do, it does not change the fact that your belief is still ultimately up to you and your decisions, and you can only believe things with respect to the evidence, right? If you force somebody to do something, you're just causing them to stop thinking. You're not causing them to change your mind.
I'm confused here. Because you seem to think that you should use force in order to stop force.
Yeah, but not to change. I don't care about changing the mind of a criminal. That's not why you should use force.
What makes them a criminal other than you just declare them?
They're violating the moral law of the individual rights.
That moral law is an ungrounded principle that you
said it was ungrounded. I told you the grounding.
What was the grounding again?
Human nature and the requirements of society.
There's no requirement in any society that they don't use collective force to take shit.
There's actually a moral requirement.
You'd have to demonstrate that.
I already gave you an example of how the usage of force is on principle anti-survival.
It's not anti-survival.
Right, of course it is. If I go right now and I utilize force against you, in fact, your survival has been hindered.
So the Native Americans, when Europeans colonized this area and essentially took them all out, how is that contrary to European survival again?
The Europeans, in fact, could have lived more productive lives if they had utilized the cooperation of the natives.
Prove it.
I just told you the economic principle of the increase of labor, increase of their productivity is one such example.
These cultures. So you think that Native Americans were just going to like put on trousers and start working? I didn't say
that. I didn't say that either.
Well, what was why would there be any requirement from such a civilization, which was so much of a lesser civilization? Why would there be any if we could just take the resources instead and not deal with the people on top of the resources? Why wouldn't we just do that? Why would we need the people there?
Yeah, so this is a point about pragmatism. We're like, well, if I can get this outcome, but I don't really have to follow these life-promoting principles, why should I follow the principles? And the fact is that if you operate in this kind of the thing is you need principles.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, that's not the case.
It is
no,
the case.
It's not.
Because
the case is that you said it's always a universal grounded truth that that if you utilize force for your benefit, that's always wrong because of some fucking labor principle. But I just pointed out and demonstrated to you that we don't need a labor principle with a primitive people. We just take their shit.
I just told you it's counterfactual.
We just take their shit. But Andrew, do you think that Native Americans were? Hang on. Do you think Native Americans were super upset?
I just asked you a question, dude. Can you answer?
What was the question?
My question was,
you didn't answer mine. You didn't answer mine.
I actually asked you a question first, so I did answer your question. The previous one,
you didn't answer it. You didn't.
Yes, I did.
You didn't answer it.
What did I not answer?
What you just said makes no sense.
What did I not answer from you? What?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you again. How you need to demonstrate to me how it would be that when colonials took over what is now the United States, that somehow getting cooperation from people who did not want to cooperate with them, who perpetually were at war with them, how that would have made things better than their elimination for resources.
Okay, yeah. First thing is that the thing that I claimed was that on principle, the utilization of force is anti-human survival. In the particular case of British people going and colonizing, in fact, counterfactually, it would have been better, right? If you evaluate all of the parties in the situation and things that they could have done, the best case scenario for everybody there would have been if they all cooperated, kumbaya, and worked together. But
that's what I want demonstrated. That's what I'm asking for the demonstration of.
Okay. So then the argument now is the claim that if everyone cooperated, it would be better for everybody. Well, I already gave the inductive support for that. I already gave the inductive support for that. One, the fact that the increase of labor increased the productivity is one such example. And then at like a basic common sense level, right? If you have more people working towards the same common goal, you in fact could be more organized, more sophisticated, more specialized, and therefore be more productive. It's the same argument. It's the same, philosophical basis for the economic principle that the increase of labor increases the increase of productivity. It's the same thing.
But what
it's the same reason why.
Here's here's what I'm still confused about with this position. When you make the reference towards human nature, and you're saying that you're utilizing this principle yourself from a source of pragmatism, correct?
I'm utilizing the principle. I'm not using the term pragmatism, but it is. If you mean that in the sense
pragmatic,
like it benefits my life in the real world. Yeah, that's right.
I see. So if this is the case, right, and we're appealing to human nature, do you agree with me that you can have two different categories of people where some are so technologically not advanced versus people who are technologically advanced, that their labor actually is counterproductive, whereas taking their resources would not from the viewpoint of the more advanced civilization?
Yeah, no, I don't agree with that because there's no such thing as technological nature, right? There's behaviors and there's knowledge, right? But the nature of the people.
I didn't say technological nature.
Okay, you said, what if there are people of lesser natures where one's more technological? That's what you said.
No, not nature, where it's the case that you have one civilization which is so far down the technological advancement stage that to integrate them into the form of technologies which you have would actually take more resources than just the elimination of those people.
It's just a growing pain. That's all it is. Like the same reason why when you
but that's what you're not demonstrating.
It's the same reason why like children are like really incompetent when you have them and then like you wait a little bit and they like know what they're doing after you teach them and stuff.
Yeah, because those people are socially integrated though.
Children are not born socially integrated; they become socially integrated.
No, but their parents are socially integrated.
Right, and the people who would teach.
And so you can make assumptions based on that. Like Native Americans were not socially integrated.
Right, but children, the whole point, I'm comparing Native American to children in the relevant sense that you can socially integrate them when they're previously not socially integrated.
But if all civilizations aren't going to get along ideologically, how does this principle actually unfold when it's the case that they're not going to cooperate?
Yeah, but that
should just take their shit.
Sure. Yeah, but that presupposes the immutability of the fact that their ideologies are separate. Like that's not a fact.
Shouldn't it? Well, this isn't a presupposition if it's a fact, right?
It's not a fact. In fact, it is not true.
It's not a fact.
It's not a fact that ideologies are immutable. It is a fact that there are differing ideologies. It's not a fact that the ideologies.
I didn't say immutable.
Right, but that's the whole point.
Why did you insert the word immutable?
I told you.
I said, is it in fact the case that you can have ideologies which are so distinct with distinct technology levels?
I'm telling you why.
It's actually more pragmatic to eliminate that people group.
Yeah, I'm telling you why. Because whenever you make a moral evaluation or you make an evaluation at all, you have to evaluate all of the things that are up to choice, which includes the ideologies of groups, right? You do not take for granted in your analysis some of the facts being evaluatable and some of them not being evaluatable, because you should evaluate all the things which are up to choice.
That's just gibberish. That's gibberish.
What about that was unclear for you?
Because you're not actually contending with what I'm asking.
I did actually contend with what you said. You just took for granted.
Not.
Like, look,
the principle itself. You're making a truth claim, and the truth claim is that this principle should always be adhered to because it's going to somehow increase productivity. But I'm giving you a distinct situation historically, where it is the case that productivity actually likely increased for a people group by eliminating another people group.
Yeah, but that presupposes. But look, I've already told you that whenever you make evaluations, the principle is an evaluation of what human society should look like. And when you make an evaluation of what human society should look like, you evaluate all of the different alternative possibilities.
You didn't say that the principle itself is only an adherence that you're striving towards. You're saying it's a universal truth.
That everybody should strive to. Yes, it's a truth about what people should strive towards. Yes.
So that's not. So it's something you should work towards. Just that everybody cooperates together.
That is something that you should work towards. That is what you should. That's not the whole principle. That is a motivation.
But your whole idea is that it should be worked towards only because it increases labor. But I can give you a literal example of where it wouldn't increase labor.
Matter of fact, this is the point. When I say universally, right, for all human beings, if we all adhere to this principle, that is in fact the ideal scenario for each and every single one of us, selfishly and as a collective group. And then you give me an example of people who are working against the benefit of the principle, where in fact they, because of the same evaluation for you, should in fact buy into the idea of individual rights and cooperation, right? They're operating against that. Of course, you're not going to get the ideal result because they're not following the principle that they should be following.
Can
That's
I
actually
come
more
for
the
like
principle.
15 seconds here real quick? I just wanted to say something super fast. So Andrew, I'm actually an Orthodox Christian, so I don't have any reason to be like siding with these guys on this overall debate, but I've been listening through the whole thing, and I think this particular line of argumentation is not super good because you are just wrong on this specific thing. It is the case that we were less productive and it was less economically efficient to do this. And I mean, this goes all the way back to Adam Smith,
what thing?
So this
More
would be
people,
some.
more
There's
productive.
lots of different principles you could look to here, but something.
No,
would
what
be,
thing specifically am I? Hang on. When you said it is the case that just economically this wasn't good, what thing are you referencing?
Wiping out natives, which, by the way, of course, the Europeans were not super evil people.
Demonstrate
who wiped them all out.
That's what I'm waiting for, is a demonstration.
So this would be something called the law of continuous dealings, and basically the idea is raiding people is much less efficient for you or beneficial for you in the long term versus trading with them. So there's lots of old studies on this too, the raid or trade studies. There's some on the Acadians, there's some on activities post-Civil War out in the West, and repeatedly you find that when people were trading with the natives, they were much wealthier versus when they raided them. And the times when they raided them, it's when there was a standing army that socialized the cost of war.
Let's see the studies. Let's see them.
I mean, if you, I could grab one real quick. It'll
grab
take
them.
me a couple seconds though.
Yeah, grab them.
All right, cool.
And then I would like to note how it would be the case that if you now have the global hegemon of the world, which was based around literal conquest, how you could say that we just let natives keep their land and trade with them, that would have been better for our people group. Can you explain that?
Well, most of what they did was consensual to the local peoples, and most of what they did was very beneficial to the local peoples because they
except the things that weren't.
They were.
Oh, come on. We took over the entire landmass.
The British Empire was super good for the people they colonized. I'm actually surprised you're taking like this leftist anti-white stance.
Yeah, like colonialization.
How is this anti-white?
Like this idea that the evil British were going around conquering everybody. Like this is just nonsense anti-European slander.
You're not contending. I don't care about your emotional state of what you think the argument is. I want you to contend with what the argument is.
No, I just said I'm shocked that you're taking that stance.
How could it possibly be bad for us, for the United States, that we conquered and destroyed civilizations which were cutting out people's hearts on top of temples?
Oh, no, I'm not making
and then
that
hang on, and then colonized the entirety of the land and became a hegemon. How would trading with those civilizations have been more of a net benefit to those societies
No, see, the claim that these are two different claims, right? There were certain societies that were very violent.
No, this is your claim.
Justifiably so, we did conquer them. I'm going against the claim that we conquered like everybody, and it was a general principle.
That's
that
not
these
what you
peoples
said.
would not trade.
Don't bullshit me now. You
No,
said
but
that we
Liam
would have
already
been better
said
off
it's okay
trading. You said we would have been better off trading with the Native Americans rather than conquering them and taking land.
You understand
That was
that
specifically about what you guys were just discussing. But Liam and the objectivist guys that you're debating, they've already held the stance that you can initiate force against someone who's
it's irrelevant what stance they're holding. I'm talking to you now about yours. Your stance was specific that we would have been better off.
I'm an Orthodox Christian, so yes, I believe
that's nice. But you said we would have been better off trading. We're talking about pragmatism now. You being an Orthodox Christian has nothing to do with the view that you're arguing, which is a pragmatic view. From the form of pragmatism, how is it possible that we, as a global hegemon, are now worse off because we eliminated 99% of the native population? How?
Well, we didn't. That's not true. But
we did.
The claim is not that we shouldn't raid people who are already raiding us, right? The claim is that we should trade people who are willing to trade with us, right? Yep. Does that make more sense? Because it seems like you might be misinterpreting my position.
No, you said that what I said was factually not true, that trading with Native Americans would have been more beneficial than the conquest of their lands.
There are
That's
obvious
what I want demonstrated.
presuppositions here, right? You have to say if you're going to trade with them, it has to be people who are actually willing to trade in the first place. If there are people that are going to come scalp all of us, certainly we can defend ourselves.
About this. Can you show me where I'm
yes,
factually
you are.
incorrect?
You're making this claim that
show me.
We're just going around, and again, it's a very anti-European, anti-white claim that we're just going around conquering everybody, destroying. You claim we killed 99% of the Indians. That's not true. That's something leftists say.
Well,
most of them died of disease. It wasn't even.
That's true. Most of them died from disease, but I'm doing a critique right now on the pragmatism portion here against this principle. Your idea when you came in to play Captain Savaho was that I was factually incorrect, that conquest of the lands of the which is now the United States somehow it would have been more beneficial to not have had conquest in these lands. That is what I want demonstrated as it's now the global hegemon of the world. What do you mean? In places that violates his principle.
No, it doesn't. And we can get back to this. My point is that cooperation and the removal of the initiation of physical force promotes human life. And in fact, if you reference societies and groups of people who, because of their primitive ideas, right, are not cooperative, are violent, those people and the fact that their violence is destructive towards human life and flourishing is evidence and expected by my principle. That's not a counterexample. To the degree
I thought that your principle was just that it would increase labor if we had traded with them.
Okay, the labor economic point was a defense, an inductive defense of the fact that more people cooperating is more productive, and the fact
then
that
it's not a universal truth, right?
It is not actually. It is a universal truth because, matter of fact, people. I told you. Hold on.
So just to make sure,
chill. I'm so.
Hang on, I just want to make sure I got this right. I want to steal, man.
I'm gonna clarify something.
I just want to steal, man.
I know. I'll let you steal, man. After I say something, it's cool, bro. It's chill. Look, I'm not gonna just relax. Okay. The inductive support that I gave for the principle, right? I gave you one inductive support, which was the economic bit, okay? But the principle is that to the degree that we cooperate and remove forces, to the degree that human beings can flourish. And if you have a violent group of people who are unwilling to cooperate and that has negative effects on human life and for everyone as a whole, that is in fact expected by my principle. So when you say, oh, but this group was violent and the fact that we treated them with violence, that's counterexample, that was, better for us. If we're responding to violence with violence, that is in fact sanctioned by the principle, and the fact that the violence that they initiated on us was negative towards us is expected by my principle. That's not evidence against what I've said.
I see. So I just want to make sure I got this right. Would you agree with, or do you, because it sounds like this view requires ownership of some kind?
This view would commit yourself to a form of ownership in context, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So when you say ownership, what does that mean?
Ownership is a justified usage to exclude the use of a good.
It's what?
It's the justification to exclude the usage of a material good.
Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so for example, let's say
really small words.
Yeah. Let's say I own a pencil. And you're like, yo, can I please get this pencil? I really need to write down what you're saying so I can track the conversation. And then I'm like, well, I own this pencil, so I actually get to choose how to use the pencil or how not to use the pencil.
What makes you own the
Okay, well, I just want to clarify. You were unclear about what ownership is. Now you want to know why you get to own something?
Yeah, I'm still unclear about what it is because you already assume that there's ownership.
You asked me what it is, and I explained. The ownership is the fact that I'm justified.
That's what's in question. If you say...
What?
If you say...
you know what it is,
give me an example and say, ownership is I own this pencil, that doesn't tell me what ownership is.
No, I explained to you through example that the ownership of the pencil, I defined it to you, it is the justified usage to exclude a good, a material good, right? And what that means is it means that if I own something, if it is the case that I own something, then it is the case that I am justified in controlling how that item is used. Who I give it to, what it's used for, all these other things. Now, if you want to ask me
what makes it ownership?
Why? Yeah, if you want to ask me why I own something. Wait, are you asking what makes it ownership or why do I have ownership?
Yeah, what makes it ownership?
Well,
what makes it that you own a thing? When you say I own a thing, what does that mean?
Okay, yeah. So I just want to go, you know what ownership is, now you want to know the justification for ownership. Right? Because know what it is.
It's the same question. I'm just trying to figure out what ownership here is.
Ownership is the justification to exclude the usage of a scarce good. I just told you. That I'm justified in doing that.
What justifies that?
Then, okay. The reason I'm justified in controlling the usage of goods fundamentally originates from the idea that it is a requirement of human survival that I keep the things that I produce when I apply my mind to nature, as a fundamental idea. If I go and I make a tool, or I give food, or I do all these things, if I am not entitled to the things that I go out in nature and produce, I in fact die. My actions, they are ineffectacious. They're inert. They don't actually promote my life. So the requirements of human survival demand that I keep the things that I go in reality and produce when I apply my mind to the problems of my survival. Now, after I own something, there's more sophisticated expressions of this basic principle where I can trade with people, and we can have labor, we can create money to make it more efficient. There are all these sophisticated ideas, but the fundamental basis is that the requirement of human life is that I apply my mind to reality and then I use the rewards of my labor to then sustain my life. And it's the basic reason why you're justified in controlling the usage of things that you go out in nature and make.
Because it's required for your existence.
Yes, because it's required by the nature of human survival.
Then would you say then that children own things?
Children can own things if they go out and make them, 100%. I
mean, isn't it the case factually that until a child reaches their majority, the parents actually own everything?
That doesn't mean that children can't own something. Like, it is true that parents own
but
things.
It's not it doesn't seem like that's a requirement then for their life that they own anything.
Well, all the principles about the requirements of human survival are speaking from the perspective of a mature adult. That's why, whenever you create
hang on. Why?
Because children develop.
First of all, what's a mature adult?
I'll explain to you. A mature adult is a fully developed human being.
What does that mean?
What is a fully developed human being?
Yeah. When do you become fully developed?
A fully developed human being is a human being that sustains its life utilizing their reason. It's a human being that sustains themselves through their own effort, that goes out and achieves their goals.
Why is that a requirement to be fully developed? Why couldn't you not own anything and still have a wonderful life?
What are you going to? How are you possible? What are you going to eat? Where are you going to live? How are you going to?
What if somebody else feeds you?
How are you going to not be? How are you going to?
Hang on. If somebody else feeds you and takes care of you and does everything for you, why do you need to own anything?
Don't drop the context. How exactly is it the case that there are things that can feed you and things that clothe you and things that protect you?
Due to force.
No, the force of what? It's not like force made the clothes. Force didn't make the house. Force didn't make the food.
It can, yeah.
No. And matter of fact, what happened is people went out there and achieved good.
You can use force to create labor, yes.
Okay, look. If you don't go out in reality and you apply your mind to the problems of your survival, guess what? There's going to be no food. There's going to be no houses. There's going to be no pencils. There's going to be no podcast equipment. People have to go out and make stuff.
But that's not the claim. The claim was that it's necessary for human survival that you be able to own things.
Human beings, by their very nature, have to sustain themselves by production, and in fact,
they don't. They don't have to actually own anything.
Yes, they do. Yes.
No. Well, that's what's in question. Hang on. I just gave you an example of human beings who don't need to own anything.
That's not a counterexample.
Can still have great lives.
So, matter of fact, they in fact do still need to own things, even if it's in the temporary.
No, they don't. In fact, need to own things. That you haven't demonstrated yet.
I have demonstrated that. Even if it's in the temporary moment of something as simple as sustaining food, even if it's in the temporary moment of something as having.
Hang on. That's not ownership.
Really?
Somebody feeds you.
If the food's in my hand, it's going into my mouth. Can you just snatch it out of my hand?
If you're a kid, I can take your food away from you if you're a kid.
Look, Andrew, if there were no foods that children were allowed to take and put into their mouth without, whatever, then they in fact would die. If children did not have the exclusive
that doesn't mean that they own the food, though. That's what you haven't demonstrated. What makes them own the... So is it just possession is ownership?
No, it's not possession's ownership. I'm telling you, here's the principle. And I think I think there's differences in the context. My point is generally, like speaking from the
generally now, I thought so it's just generally true, but not always true.
That's not what I'm saying either. I'm not saying it's I'm not saying it's heuristic. It's a principle. There's a difference. Okay. I'm saying from the perspective of mankind, human beings as a kind of creature, their life is sustained through the use of reason, and it requires that they are entitled to the things that they produce.
You haven't demonstrated this requirement that you have to own
because matter of fact, every single thing. No, it is.
You've only demonstrated that some people would have to own things.
No, hold on. I'm speaking from the perspective of the kind, Andrew. Do you know the distinction between the kind and the group?
Well, what's the distinction?
Well, do you know that
human beings are human beings here the kind?
Do you know the distinction between saying mankind and everybody in the world?
Okay, so when you say mankind, who are we referencing then?
Mankind refers to the species as such.
All of them?
All human beings, past, present, and future. Gotcha.
And so then group means?
Group is the particular occurring human beings on the planet.
So only some groups of people need to own things then?
That's not. Did you hear what I just said? The principle is of the kind, not of the group.
So then if all of mankind needs to have the requirement of being able to own things...
As a kind, it is required. Thank you for the galaxy.
Yeah, okay. As a kind, it is required.
Which is why every single value that sustains human life is produced. And if it was the case that they were not entitled to that...
Calm down, dude. Calm down.
You're screaming at me, telling me to calm down.
Dude, you're freaking out.
Your cortisol is spiking, but not mine.
I'm just trying to get to the bottom of this.
Okay, well, you were also screaming at me, telling me to calm down, so relax.
Because you just keep over talking.
No, dude, you're lashing out. I'm obviously not over talking.
I'm just trying to figure out the position.
Okay, sure, go for it.
So the idea here is that all of mankind needs to be able to own things, or no?
Mankind as such needs to be entitled to their labor in order to live their life. Yep.
Okay, except in cases where they don't.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not the clause. That's not the qualification. So mankind refers to each... I don't
understand.
Yeah, I'll explain to you. Mankind refers to each individual human being as a creature. Okay, is a requirement of each human being, if they are to survive because of their nature, that they go and they produce things and they use those things that they produce in a way that is conducive towards their life. Now we can get more sophisticated.
What are babies producing?
Babies are underdeveloped human beings. So all the principles true of the kind are things that they... Hold on. I'm explaining this to you just before you jump to done. Okay. All of the principles that are true of the kind manifest themselves and become more present as babies transition from being babies to fully grown human beings, which is why when we say human beings should do this and human beings should do that and human beings are like this, those principles and those explanations only start making sense when babies become more human-like. They become mature human beings.
So you would say like 12 or 13-year-olds would not fit into this fully developed human being category.
To the proportion that they're developed. Well, they're not mature human beings, but to the degree that they have the distinctly human method of survival, which is the use of their reason and the need to produce all these things, then the principles proportionally manifest themselves in their requirements and what benefits them.
So then if it was the case that these people were taken care of for their entire life, why would there be a need for the principle?
But you understand, the context of taking care of human beings is that there are values that sustain their lives. And that the values that sustain their life, when you account for the whole context, are things which are achieved that promote life because there are people that go out and produce things, and upon producing them, they're entitled to the good. And then after being entitled,
then we're just back to some people.
They then go trading
not all of them.
The point is that if you have people who live in a parasitic way, that does not undercut the principle that values as such are produced. That values
it does undercut. Well, the whole principle seems like it's undercut immediately because you're just associating that only some people in these groups need to actually have this principle applied. And everybody can still flourish.
The principle is true of human nature. It's not a description of particular groups.
It is in fact not. It's not true of babies. It's not true of people who are not.
It's proportionally true. It's proportionally true.
It's not. How is it proportionally true to a baby? What does that mean?
I'm telling you, it's because the principle is from the perspective of the kind, and the fact that they're under-matured implies that they have not fully realized the extent of their nature. So to the extent,
so then it doesn't need to apply to them, does it?
To the extent that they are developed, is to the extent that applies.
Which means what? That doesn't mean anything.
It's the same reason why children can't.
Is it a fraction of the principle applies then?
It means that the principle
10% of the principle applies. 15%. How much of the principle applies?
What is unclear about that to you?
How much of the principle applies to a baby?
Are you looking for a number?
I'm just looking for any consistency here, because this is bizarre to me.
I said it's proportional to their faculties and their
development. Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. That's nice. Okay, it's not proportional. What is the proportion?
Let me give you an example so that you can induce.
I don't need an example. I need an explanation.
I mean, Andrew, you said you were genuinely clueless as to what it means, so I'm going to explain to you what it means through an example, because that seems like the best way you would get it. Okay, so for example, grandma has lost the use of her rational faculty because she has dementia. Give it a couple years, some people we know will be there. And given that they have lost the use of their mind, they can no longer think for themselves. They can't produce for themselves. They become incompetent. Now, the nature of human survival, right? What human survival looks like when human beings survive is they go out and they produce things using their mind. Grandma has now lost a degree of her ability to survive. She has lost the effectivity of her mind and her ability to produce shit. And so proportionally, grandma has lost a degree of freedom in society. She's now entrusted by people in the nursing homes, right? They dress her, they feed her, all these other things. So how
does this principle apply to grandma then?
Okay, well, grandma is still an individual who can think, right? She can still do things.
Well, not really. She has dementia. She forgets what she thought.
That doesn't mean that she can't think, though, right? She's worse at thinking, right, than me or you. Or some,
or she could be so bad that she doesn't even remember what happened 5 minutes ago.
And if grandma is, if she is completely she has no consciousness at all, right? If she's brain dead, then yeah, grandma's dead, right? She has no rights.
No, she's not brain dead. She just doesn't seem like she needs this principle applied. It seems like other groups of people would need it applied.
What do you mean? Like, she still needs to, in order for grandma to confront the problem of her survival, she needs to go out and produce shit. The fact that people help her with her problem.
What does she need to produce?
What does grandma need to produce in order to live?
Yeah.
The same thing that me and you need to produce to live. Food, water.
So grandma has Alzheimer's. She's in a nursing home. She has a goldfish memory. What the fuck is grandma producing?
I'm explaining I'm telling you right now.
Is she producing waste?
The fact that people help you with your needs that you're responsible for does not invalidate the fact that you need them, and in fact you are responsible for achieving your needs.
Yeah, you need them. They would need the principle, but grandma wouldn't need the principle.
Grandma, in fact, the principle is a description of the requirements of her survival. The principle is a truth about grandma.
But that's not a requirement of her survival. The opposite.
She in fact does need these things produced. Yes, she does. Yes.
Okay. She needs them produced. But she herself is not producing shit. So so you're just saying some groups need this principle. That's it.
I'll explain it to you this way, okay? Maybe this will help. Okay?
You can explain it however you want, but that's what it's going to reduce to.
No, it's not going to reduce to that, because look, you're a big individual responsibility. Hopefully, you're a big self-made. You should make your life. You're responsible for your life. No one's going to do it for you, kind of thing, right? Now, you as an individual.
So what?
I'm explaining it to you.
What does that have to do with criticism of the
So if you listen for like 3 seconds, you learn what the for is for, okay? Given that you are the person who lives your life, you are the person who has the needs, you are the person who is responsible for realizing them, okay? It is a need of grandma, of children, of you, of me, of fucking Radcat below me, of everybody, that we realize the requirements of our survival. We need to produce, right? We need these things that we have produced to then be used by us. We need to use them in a way that's advantageous to our interest. And now I can either be better at that or worse at that, depending on my nature, depending on my development, or depending on whether I've decayed, whatever. The point is that as a human being, your survival has certain
This is just pure sophistry.
What's sophistry? Do you not hear what
because again, you keep on moving back to this idea that this is of universal necessity for all people, and then we continuously point to people where it's completely unnecessary. It would be necessary to other people around them who aren't them.
What are you talking about? Grandma is still responsible for her needs.
How can grandma be responsible for her needs
when
grandma doesn't have a fucking mind?
Grandma's not a human being anymore?
How would she be responsible for her needs when she can't think?
Grandma's not responsible for her needs?
Wouldn't there be some kind of duty there to take care of grandma?
So now you're realizing that to the degree that grandma is maturely human is to the degree that she has the principle that apply?
There's no principle there applied to her.
There's no principle.
When you say this,
grandma doesn't need to be free from physical force.
To the degree in which
grandma doesn't need the freedom.
To the degree in which the principle applies to grandma is the degree in which the principle applies. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it does. Look, Andrew,
it's just meaningless nonsense.
No, it's like,
I'll explain it to you. What's the portion? 4%?
It's cool.
3% of the principle?
It's cool. I can explain.
How much of the percentage of the principle applies to grandma here?
Let me ask you a question. If I go up and I, try to beat on grandma, do you think that's going to disrupt her ability to survive?
Yeah.
Right. So she still needs the freedom from physical force. Right? But she doesn't need to go out and produce shit, right?
Wait a second. I'm confused here. So grandma needs other people to be able to protect grandma.
No, she needs the condition. Look, I'm telling you, she's a condition.
And so grandma can't protect herself, right?
How the condition is sustained is a separate question. I'm saying she has this condition. She
so
has the
grandma
condition
can't take. Okay, hang on. I just want to make sure I got this right. Grandma in this scenario can't protect herself.
Yeah, she's incompetent. She's senile. Yeah.
So who's protecting grandma?
Hold on. We could talk about who enforces the principle, but what we're recognizing here is the principle that human beings.
Okay, I just need to hear other people are protecting grandma, not grandma, right?
Yeah, there is an objective need for government. I agree with you. Okay, I'm not
asking about that. I'm just saying other people are protecting.
Government is
grandma.
the institution which protects you from force. So in fact, you are asking about that. That's the answer to your question.
No, I'm just asking if other people are protecting grandma.
Yes, the government protects grandma. Yes, the government protects grandma.
Okay, got it. So then it sounds like the government needs to have this, but not grandma.
The government, in fact, operates according to the principle I'm trying to identify, which is that individuals.
Yes, but that doesn't mean the individual needs to. That's my point.
In fact, no, it's a need. It is a need of grandma, right? Here's what you got to understand. Just let me get through my soliloquy, and then you can, deconstruct and clip me. Look, here's the point. Grandma, because she is a human being, has certain requirements. One of her requirements when she is in society is that people do not go beat on her and fucking steal her and fucking snack her weave, all these things, right? Grandma's life is in fact harmed and worsened and made impossible if people do these to varying degrees, right? So it's a need of grandma that she's free from physical force. Now, it's actually also a need of you and me that we are not fucked with. People don't fucking steal our shit. They don't rob us. They don't like fucking brutalize us in a fucking, in an alleyway. All these other things, these are all requirements of us. We cannot live as human beings if we are having force applied to us in an initiatory way. Therefore, we all have a need for somebody to enforce and remove physical force from all of us.
But we can't live as human beings by violating those principles against other human beings.
Yeah, of course, you're being immoral,
can't we?
Yeah, no, you can't.
That's the part. What do you mean? You haven't demonstrated that's immoral?
You're making your life worse.
All you've done is say that's immoral because I think it's immoral.
I haven't said that.
That's it.
In fact, I've explained to you it's immoral because it violates the requirements.
Hang on. What makes that actually immoral?
It violates the requirements of human survival in the social context.
It doesn't, though.
We just explained how it does. We just explained that grandma needs it. You need it. I need it.
The thing is like, let's just, you know what? I'll even grant it for the sake of argument. So what?
So what about what?
What if, let's just say that one collective group of human beings wants to violate this principle because they don't give a shit. What would actually make that immoral? What
makes it immoral?
Yeah, what makes it immoral?
So what were you granting? I don't understand. What did you just grant?
I'm just granting the position that
that's immoral.
Is it only that you have this position?
How can you grant that it's immoral and then ask me what makes it immoral, bro?
Yeah, I'm granting is it the case that
what are you granting?
Just your stance that it's immoral?
What are you granting?
I'm asking you a question.
But you said you granted something. What did you grant? Did you grant that it was immoral?
Yeah, I'm just granting from your worldview it is.
Okay, so granting it's immoral. What was the question then?
From your worldview.
Okay, assuming it's immoral, what was the question about it?
So we're granting your worldview this thing immoral, right?
Okay,
yeah, this thing's immoral. My follow-up question is that just dependent on your stance?
It's not just dependent on my stance.
What else is it dependent on?
The facts of human nature.
And do those require stance as well?
Facts? No, the facts of human nature are not an attitude or stance I have.
So what makes them factual?
What makes the facts facts? I think we went through that. Facts don't have to be made facts, Andrew. We already talked about this.
Well, I mean, that's tautology. That's not telling you.
It's not a tautology. You're committing a category error. And then when I explain to you,
you're saying a fact is a fact. If you say a fact is a fact, that's tautology.
Facts are facts, Andrew. That's right.
Andrew, we already went down this dialogue tree.
I feel like we already explained that facts are aspects of reality.
But that is a tautology, right? Facts are facts.
By tautology, do you mean it is the thing that it is?
Can you answer my question? Is it a tautology to say
it's
facts
a clarifying
are
question. Is that what you mean? Do you mean a fact?
I'm asking. Well, wait. How is it a clarification?
Because I'm asking what you mean by tautology. That's why it's a clarification.
Do you want a definition of a tautology?
I'm just clarifying by tautology.
I can pull one up. Here,
I'll pull up
what tautology means.
By tautology, did you just mean the fact is a fact?
I didn't say tautology. I said tautology.
I mean, you don't want to critique me about stuttering, bro. I mean, did you hear what you just did?
the saying
you
of the
just
same
stutter
thing
when you
twice
criticize me
in
for
different
stuttering. I mean, I'll criticize your stutters. It'll be really embarrassing for you because you've stumbled over yourself the whole time. But I'm not going to do that because I have a little more decorum than you. It's cool. So just you look up what tautology
so anyway,
is.
The saying that the same thing twice in different words.
I mean, you just stuttered again when you tried to criticize me, dude. So you got to pick your route. Do you want to talk about substance or do you want to talk about who stutters more? Because I promise you, it's not going to look good for
I don't even know what you're talking about. Can you tell me what a tautology is?
I grant that you don't know what I'm talking about. What is a tautology? It's a statement. It's a statement which just asserts. It's like A is A. Okay, it's just something that is. Sometimes they say it's vacuously true. Sometimes they say it's trivially true.
Is saying a fact is a fact a tautology?
If by tautology you just mean saying this thing is what it is, yeah, that is a tautology.
Okay, so it's tautological.
Yes, facts are facts.
So it's not offering me any clarification on what one actually is.
I told you what a fact is.
What
a
is
fact
it again?
is an aspect of reality.
And is that stance dependent or not?
Is an aspect of reality fact stance dependent? Depends on the aspect of reality. Like the aspect of reality referring to human nature.
The aspect of reality that is a fact.
Some aspects of reality are stance independent, some aren't.
Which ones aren't?
The ones that are dependent on stances. Boy, what's wrong with you? Like, what do you not get about this, man?
I'm asking.
What do you think? What do you think it means? So when you say
stance independent,
look, take a step back. When we say stance independent, what do you think we're attributing the stance dependence to? We're attributing it to a fact. The fact is stance dependent.
Well, usually we're actually attributing it to a mind, right?
No, you're attributing it. Oh my God. The stance dependence relationship is what the fact has, right? It's relationship to a mind. So for example, when you say.
I just said that. I just said it's
no,
you
did
really
not.
just
Okay.
pointing
you really
towards
did
mind,
not,
right?
You really did not just say that. Okay. I'm just telling you right now.
I really did just say that.
No, you didn't.
You can clip it. You can clip it.
You don't
Put
want
it
me to
out
clip
there.
it.
It's totally correct.
Okay,
what I just said is totally correct. There's no amount of gaslighting which will ever make it not correct.
I'm not gaslighting you, dude. Let's make sure we're both on the tracking train together. I just want to clarify. We agree that stance-independent facts are in fact facts.
No.
Okay, what are they?
I don't know.
They're not aspects of reality?
I'm asking you.
I already told you. Well, you're asking me whether.
Well, you just saying a fact is a fact is
That's
it's
right.
not clarifying to me at all.
What do you want to clarify? What a fact is, or why that's a fact?
Yeah, what makes something factual?
It being an aspect of reality.
Okay, and does that require an interpreter?
No.
Okay, can you demonstrate how facts of reality don't require interpreters?
What? You just asked me to demonstrate a negative, Andrew. What are you doing?
Well, you made a negative claim.
No, are you serious?
Yes.
Okay, so I said a fact of reality is just an aspect of reality. And then I said there are stance-independent aspects of reality. You said, show how that doesn't need an interpreter.
Yeah, well, you're saying it doesn't need an interpreter.
I'm saying I do not think it needs an interpreter, yep.
So then then you made the claim this does not need an interpreter.
Andrew, that's dialectic.
So then me saying it does not need an interpreter is a claim, correct?
Okay.
You saying that?
It is a claim, yep.
Then I'm asking for the demonstration of the claim.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify real quick that the burden of proof principle is not to be equivocated with like who says what first in an argument. It's supposed to be equivocated with what is the ontological positive asserted by a claim.
That's okay. Did you make a claim?
Yeah. When I say, for example, there are no invisible leprechauns in front of me, right? I don't have to demonstrate the non-existence of the leprechaun by appealing to non-existence. It doesn't make any sense, right? I'm asserting to you. Right. Similarly.
Wait. Okay. Hang on. You are saying that this principle does or does not exist as a universal.
What principle are you talking about?
The principle of whatever the fuck.
Are you talking about individual rights or what a fact is?
Well, in this case, a fact.
Okay, well, if that's not the principle, I'm saying facts exist, and facts are what they are. That's true. And some facts are stance-dependent and some aren't. Yep.
Okay, so when we're talking about stance-independent facts, that's what I'm asking about.
Independent facts?
What is one? Yeah, what's a stance-independent fact?
A stance that's not composed of stances?
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, human nature.
That's stance-independent?
Yeah.
It doesn't require an interpreter?
No, like human nature would be what it is, whether or not you interpret it or not.
Okay.
Like
that
for example, whether or not.
Hang on, real quick.
Cool.
Can we agree that you just made a claim?
Yeah, I just made a claim. Yep.
Can I ask you now to demonstrate that claim?
Yeah. Proving the claim is different from the claim, the claim expressing a fact. You're just asking me to demonstrate whether the claim expresses a fact, which is the point I've already made.
No, I'm not even doing that. I'm saying that what you just claimed here.
Demonstrate what claim?
The claim that you just made is that there are things which are stance independent, which are facts, right? I'm asking for an example of one.
Oh, an example of a stance independent fact? The amount of money in your bank account.
That's stance independent?
Yeah, whether I look at it or not, it doesn't have it's the same number.
Okay. So if collectively a bunch of people disagreed with that number,
doesn't change how much money is in your bank account.
How would it not?
How is it
like
the
if
case
people perceive the $300 in your bank account?
Yo, do you know something I don't, Andrew?
Hang on. If people perceived the $300 in your bank account as being $400 and treated it as such, how would that be factual then?
Do you know something I don't? If people utilize the force collectively, does the money in my bank account increase or decrease? Like, what are you talking about, Andrew? The perception of my money doesn't change its object permanence. Have you?
Actually, it does. In that case, with the value of money,
it does.
About? Yes, it does. The value of money is shifted by the value of money is shifted by perception.
The amount of money in your bank account is not determined by what people think of it. It's the same amount.
Really? So what gives a dollar value, sir?
Its purchasing power changes, bro. The amount of dollars in your bank account does not.
What?
You think that the amount of money is the same thing as the purchasing power of your money?
If you have, are you saying that?
Yeah, that was a really subtle equivocation.
Are you saying that
nobody noticed that equivocation?
Wait, I'm super. Now I'm really confused.
You just made the distinction between purchasing power and money.
Wait, so $5. If you have $5 in your account, and suddenly the $5 bill was socially constructed as being worth $10. Are you saying that and this is digital, by the way, are you saying that you only still have $5?
You still have the same amount of money. It just has less purchasing power. What's wrong? What do you not get?
So you're just saying the object itself?
Yeah, I'm talking about the money, Andrew. That's why I said the amount of dollars in your bank.
The object itself, not the value of the thing.
Yeah, I was talking about the object. Yep.
Okay, so money itself requires a mind and a stance. That
the purchasing power is stance.
There's even money, right?
The purchasing power is stance.
So you're just saying that objects. You're just saying that objects themselves are going to.
I gave you an example of an object that's stance independent. Yep. The amount of money in your bank account, right? I'm talking about the dollars. Now, maybe.
But bank accounts don't even exist absent minds, right?
Well, it's true the case that the existence of the bank account is explained by the creation of it by a human mind. But after its creation, like once it's been established as a fact, it in fact is a fact that's independent of your wills or whims or whatever.
Well, that's not. Well, the only thing you're saying makes that a fact is that people are fucking collectively agreeing it is.
But there's a difference between the causal explanation behind the existence of a fact and the status of something as a fact. You understand the distinction?
What is the distinction?
So the distinction is that the origin of something, right? So, for example, the earth was not caused by like a conscious creator or anything like, silly like that. The earth just began to exist because of a natural scientific process. Whereas like the amount of the podcast equipment that you utilize, that was created by a human being. Now, one is metaphysical in origin in that it's not conscious. And one is man-made in origin, that it required an active production from a human mind. But nonetheless, both are facts and both are what they are, independent of what we think once they exist.
You literally have, all you've done is shift the goalpost as to what a fact is again.
How did I shift the goalpost?
You just got done saying to me that this is a fact that you have X amount of money in your bank account. And the second we remove minds, that's no longer a fact. So that would still be stance dependent. So you just lied your ass off, man.
Why did you try to pretend like that's what I said?
It's just pure sophistry through and through.
Not even you was convinced of that. I can tell by the way you're speaking to me that you're not even convinced.
Look, I'll give you the demonstration. That was pure sophistry.
You're not even convinced of the thing I just said.
The amount of money in my bank account, that is a fact, you said. And then you said that that's stance independent, which is what I asked you. And then when we got through it, we found out, no, that's actually stance dependent and requires minds. And now you're shifting the goalpost as to what facts are again. What's a stance independent fact? What is it?
Okay, I don't know why you're freaking the fuck out because I explained this to you.
Nobody's freaking out, bro. Nobody's freaking out.
You actually are freaking the fuck out, so it's cool.
Nobody's freaking out. Calm down. Just answer the question. How is that a stance independent fact?
Chill.
How's that a stance independent fact?
Telling me to calm down like you're not screaming.
How's that a stance independent fact?
Grab a sip of water while I explain this to you. It's fine.
Dude, how is that a stance independent fact? It's cool. Grab some water.
Hey, dude, just sit down. I'll explain it to you.
Can you just answer the question?
Yeah, I will.
How's that a stance independent fact?
Look, bro, you must know.
How is that
I'm listening, bro. I'm explaining. Look, you must know something I don't because I explained to you there's two different senses of the term stance independent. There's a sense in which we're talking about the origin, and there's a sense in which we're talking about the status. When I was talking about the stance independent factness of the money in your bank account, I'm talking about its status as a fact. I'm not talking about its origin. I explained that to you.
Its status as a fact is just a requirement of people agreeing it's a fact then?
Its status as a fact is not required by people agreeing it's a fact. That's right.
But it sounds like in this case of the bank account, it is based on.
No, the origin is determined by people deciding to do something. It's not, the status of it as a fact is not determined by that.
Then what's it determined by?
It's not, it's the fact that it's irreducible, Andrew. It's not something that's.
It seems like it's completely reducible to, you just agree that it's true.
Facts are facts. Reduce that for me.
That's your claim.
No. You don't think facts are facts?
I don't think in this case.
Now you must really know something I don't, bro. You don't think facts are facts?
I don't understand how that would be stance independent.
Don't equivocate. Let's just be honest here. Do you think facts are facts? Yes or no?
You mean are you just asking is AA?
You heard exactly what I asked.
Yeah, I mean via the law of identity.
Yeah,
of things
via the
itself,
law of identity, facts are facts.
But I'm not sure what a fact here is.
An aspect of reality. I told you.
Yeah, but that doesn't. Again, when I asked for something which was stance independent, you just gave me stance dependent stuff.
I told you the stat. Okay, maybe I'll help you out. The color of the sky.
Can I say something real quick?
Okay. Well, I gotta.
And I'll just shut up.
Hang on.
I do.
Hang on. I do have to get rolling though. I do appreciate the conversation. It was fun, and I do appreciate you guys having me up on the panel. So that was all.
I appreciate it. The deal. If I was hot and sexy like my ex-girlfriend, bro, I would be on your podcast.
I don't have a podcast.
Yeah, me neither, bro. And I don't have an ex-girlfriend that's hot and sexy. Yeah.
Do you think that that whatever podcast is mine?
Something like that, bro. Something like that.
Yeah, that's incorrect.
Is that stance independent though, bro?
No, it's a stance independent.
It to be your podcast.
No, but if we will it hard, if we all believe it, bro, it's going to become your podcast. According to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would all be stance dependent, right?
No.
What's the stance?
No.
That's the point where we're actually giving a counterexample to your worldview.
Yeah, but the example that you give is always just stance dependent again and again.
Right. The fact that the podcast isn't yours is stance dependent. Yeah.
By your view, it would be, yes, because every example you give is a stance dependent view. Yeah.
Not by my view. Not by my view.
Yes, by your view.
No, bro, we've been through this, bro. We've been through
the
mud.
What's the argument for that claim?
Hold on, no, we already been through the mud, bro. It's cool.
All right. Well, anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day.
Likewise.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for viewing. All proceeds will go to International Women's Day for my ex-girlfriend. Thanks.